The second part would be about participation. We have done a caste census in Telangana, and what we have found is shocking. Almost 90% of Telangana is either Dalit, Adivasi, backward, or minority. Almost 90%. And I am convinced that that is the story across the country. I am absolutely convinced that the OBC population of this country is not one less than 50%, possibly 55%. 16% are Dalits, 9% are Adivasis, 15% are minorities. Last budget, there was a photograph. You remember the photograph?
Of course.
वो मक्खन बांटने वाली, हलवा बांटने वाली फोटो. मैं हैरान हो गया कि इस बार फोटो ही हटा दी. हलवा खिलाया मगर दिखाया नहीं किसको खिला रहा.
प्लीज.
तो at the center of any new development paradigm for this country, which runs parallel with the production paradigm I spoke of, which works together with the production paradigm I spoke of, is the participation of lower castes, OBCs, Dalits, Adivasis in the wealth of this country. If we look at the largest corporates in this country, they're all owned. None of them are owned by OBCs. None of them are owned by Dalits. None of them are owned by tribals. If we look at the biggest media companies that support the Prime Minister, every day we see the Prime Minister's pleasant face, smiling face on these media. None of them are owned by OBCs. None of them are owned by Dalits. None of them are owned by Adivasis. This is the fact. So central to any new development paradigm is the architecture of a new paradigm. And that architecture of the new paradigm can only be built once the caste census is placed on this table. Because once the caste census is placed on the table, we will know exactly how much of this country's wealth, how much of this country's power, how many of this country's institutions are owned by 90% of this country. There are OBC MPs in the BJP. There are OBC MPs in the BJP.